a conversation with 3 guests, and we have everything here today: virtual, physical, half and half, 50-50, 60-40, 30-20. So, 3 guests, 2 are coming in virtually, and the other one is here, I believe. So please let me welcome Carolina García Cortés. She's Open Innovation Manager at Prosegur. Here she is. Carolina, where do you want to sit?
Hello, here it's perfect.
Excellent. And then we have with us, you know, you've seen them all, Nabil Malouli, VP Global E-Commerce at DHL, and Benigno Herrería, Managing Director at Accenture. They're here, so I'm going to come and join Carolina. Hi, Carolina.
Hello.
How are you? Let's open the water. I need it. What about you? Well, you've been drinking there. I've seen you taking notes.
Yeah, I have finished my can.
How do you see the
It's great.
competition?
It's amazing. It's fantastic to see the high quality of the startups and all these arrangements you have made in such short time.
I'm not going to ask you who's your favorite. I'm not allowed.
It's noted.
I know, I can see you. You know, she's doing her homework. She came with the homework done. But you're enjoying, you're thrilled. Sure. We haven't finished. Let me ask first our 2 guests visually, because they have the hardest job. You're here, we're enjoying lovely water and being together in La Nave. But let me first go to Nabil, if you wish. He's here, Nabil, who's doing double job, everybody here. You know, speakers, jury, everything. Nabil, from DHL, but you know about everything, because I've seen your CV, and it's so long, I'm not going to say anything about it. Just look into the internet. Tell us how COVID has changed, in your opinion, the mobility and logistics industry. You know a lot about that. What is your experience in these past months?
Yeah, so I think when we look at the industry and when we look across all the major clients we work with, I think the biggest shift that we are seeing is around the online sales. So everybody is, of course, in lockdown. Everybody had to move into online to purchase, you know, from food to anything else. But what we are seeing is actually most of the categories that were low penetrated have increased significantly, and the categories that were already highly penetrated have also increased. So people are buying more online, and this is not something that's going to disappear. Actually, when you have customers that are purchasing 4 times in a row with a good experience online, they become loyal in 70% of the cases. And that's also something that is a global phenomenon. It's not, you know, something that is specifically to some countries that have had maybe a higher level of pandemic. You see it going from countries with very low impact to countries that had a very, very strong impact in terms of increase. And when we look about online sales, or when we think about this, people think only about the digital aspect, but really where the big shift is really around what is the role of stores in the future? How do you facilitate all these deliveries in infrastructure that are existing today? How do you repurpose infrastructures and warehouses and stores? How do you make the space for all these deliveries, you know, parking? How do you make them more sustainable? Also, it's a big topic as well, obviously, to ensure that even if you have more deliveries to home, actually we don't see a negative impact on sustainability aspect. So this is the biggest thing we see for the moment. Of course, there are many impacts, but from a logistics standpoint, the big shift for all industries is online growth in terms of sales.
Okay, but in terms, you were talking about the impact. In terms of short and long-term impact, can you tell me a bit of what do you think is the short and long-term impact of the pandemic, especially the long one, because that's the hard one.
Yeah, so the long one is work in progress, right? I mean, we oftentimes hear people speaking about the pandemic like if it was something of the past, but it's something of present, right? In most of the countries across the globe, more than ever, actually. So what we see in terms of like long-term impact is there is going to be a huge shift on how we actually shop. It's already happening, but this is just going to continue. So when you think about all the physical and commercial real estate, there's going to be a significant shift on how we use actually these spaces. So you're going to see longer term impact, people actually repurposing maybe stores to do online fulfillment. You're going to see more micro fulfillment centers. You're going to see more last mile deliveries that are sustainable with use of alternative vehicles. So the longer term impact in terms of mobility and logistics is actually across multiple dimensions. But if we think about like how is this going to impact us, is we're going to see longer term companies investing significantly in that transformation, and that's going to be probably one of the major differences. E-commerce has nothing new. It's depending on the economies. We already had it for 30 years, but the major difference we are seeing is that in 3 months we've seen more penetration than in 10 years.
Wow.
And that's going to be the big play in the longer term in regards to, well, how do companies actually adapt to these new volumes, and how do we, as consumer, will be changing significantly. So I think the biggest change is really the consumer behavior change in the long term, and how companies will have to adapt. And we know, cities are already congested across the globe. So it's not about putting more, it's about repurposing and making sure that existing assets are highly optimized to be able to actually manage that curve that is going to remain consistent in terms of exponential growth for the moment, and that's going to remain very strong in the longer term. So companies, they have to adapt. There was a recent survey actually from Fortune that has interviewed CEOs of Fortune 500, and 75% of them said that the COVID has significantly accelerated their digital transformation. And I think that's where companies really have to push their effort, and that's the longer term impact.
Nabil, it's always fascinating listening to you. You know so much about everything, but we have 2 more guests, and Carolina is here. So, Benigno, if you allow me to ask Carolina first, because she's come all the way to La Nave, and that has obviously, a priority now. The lady, no, is the priority of being here. Thank you, Carolina. I guess you agree with everything Nabil said.
Absolutely.
This is it. But tell me, from Prosegur point of view, and within your CAS processes, on which areas are you focusing your innovation efforts?
Well, it's not really known that we have a fleet of over 10,000 vehicles, armored trucks, that are going through the village, gathering the money, processing it, and delivering it again. And apart from the big difference that we have money and other type of goods, we think that we can automatize most of the processes that we are carrying out. So, for instance, we can focus on the warehouses, where the money is gathered, the money is transported, and is afterwards processed. Then there we think that we can introduce a high level of automation.
Nobody can pronounce that in Spain.
Yes.
Don't worry.
Automation.
Automation, digitization.
Yeah. Secondly,
Nabil is laughing. You don't have that problem, Nabil.
I was practicing at home, and it's not working. Okay.
I don't know how many languages. We hate you.
And the same for the last mile delivery. Okay. So we have to be imaginative and to be able to discover new ways of delivering the money, and to do it faster, and to reach a more number of clients, and to do it in a new way. So I think those are the most important. And let me point another one, last but not least, is the environmental sustainability of our processes. Less emissions, less consumption of energy, less consumption of water, less use of plastics, and more sustainable materials.
Thank you, Carolina. We have the whole afternoon here. Don't worry, all these people are here for us, so take your time. Listen, I've been asking a lot of our guests about their relationship with startups and how they collaborate. I have to ask you as well, Prosegur, what is your relationship with startups? How would you highlight your collaboration in this sense?
We collaborate in a usual manner, but I think that this collaboration has been more intensive in the last months because of the circumstances. So thanks to the collaboration with the startups, we have been able to launch new products to ensure that the workspaces are COVID-free. So we have developed technologies based on artificial vision, monitoring of the use of the spaces, indoor location of the people. We have incorporated the solutions that were of the startups that won the competition, the Open Innovation Competition of Prosegur. And now we have a very varied catalog of products oriented to COVID-free spaces, thanks to those collaborations.
Wow, in so little time already.
So little time, it has
you
been
see,
amazing.
When there's a need, startups are quick, and corporates as well. Things are changing. I'm going to come back to you if we have time, Carolina, now that we're here. But let me speak to Benigno. Benigno, he's here from Accenture. Benigno Herrería. Tell us, Benigno, how do you think, well, first of all, thank you for coming through cyberspace, but how do you think the supply chain sector has reacted to the challenges posed by the crisis?
I think the supply chain has always been a sort of a lifeline to humanity in many means, right? And now the COVID-19 health crisis has brought to light the critical need for sort of a resilient supply chain that produces and delivers. So traditionally viewed as a driver of efficiencies and scale within companies, the role of supply chain has evolved in the last couple of years towards a lasting growth and driving the top line of company. I think capability is key and has come to be a very competitive advantage during the COVID. Companies follow 4 key practices in our opinion. The first one is that they begin with the customer in mind, as you can imagine. They turn and work a lot to turn data insights into innovation processes and products. They prioritize their bets, so they prioritize the develop targeted capability, just not focusing to excel at everything, right? And the last and probably most important thing is that in this narrative, they engage the CEO beyond conversation to action and drive this transformation. So just to finalize, wanted to share you the financial analysis we've run that shows that growth effort that these leading companies have run a license for growth through supply chain. So there is a reasonable increase in revenues versus the peers of 13%. And their supply chain contribution to the total revenue was triple versus the peer set as well. And they've also proven to also improve the EBITDA margins.
Thank you, Benigno. We don't have much time, but I want to pose you a last question to the 3 of you, but you have to promise you answer with 1 word. Are you capable? Especially you, Nabil?
We try.
Okay, if you had to choose, I'm going to start with Benigno, okay? Now that I have you there, Benigno, if you had to choose 1 technology that you think will help us to go to the next level in regards to mobility, what would that be?
Blockchain.
Okay, blockchain. Try not to copy each other. Carolina?
I need 2 words.
Okay, that's fine.
Artificial intelligence.
Okay, AI, we could say it's 1 word if you want. Okay, well done. And Nabil, finish.
Robotics.
Robotics. Okay, anything else before I say goodbye? Any final message? That was pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
Blockchain, AI, robotics. Nabil, I can see you. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say, yeah, I fully agree with Benigno also on one of the things he said, that there is not a better time now than to be in supply chain. I think COVID has raised the importance more than ever. And I think for all the entrepreneurs that are watching this, if you're in the space, great. And if you're not, you're considering, it's really a good time. And we see it also through the huge raise that have happened in terms of investment since COVID has started in last mile and in all the delivery space and logistics.
Wow. I'm having a great time here with you, everybody, but unfortunately, this is TV. We have to go, but thank you so much to Carolina García Cortés from Prosegur. She's going back to her job there at the jury table. Nabil Malouli also back to his job, not the DHL, of course, but back to your job today at the virtual jury. And of course, Benigno Herrería from Accenture. Big kiss to everybody in Accenture.